Thank you so much for having me here today. It's wonderful to be back in Worcester, where Greens are holding the balance of power on the council and making a huge difference. It feels like we are at a pivotal moment in the history of Britain. No mention of the environment, and it's shameful. But it makes sense to transition the economy. I think what's going on in the world with Trump is alarming, but I think the global movement towards dealing with climate change, people recognise it makes sense. Even big business recognise that it makes sense to transition the economy, and I think that global movement is unstoppable. It worries me what Donald Trump is doing. I think at the local level we've got a vital role to carry on the divestment movement, and getting pension funds, local authority pension funds, to divest from fossil fuels is absolutely crucial. Some local authorities are doing it, often local authorities are the last people to catch up. Businesses are spotting this. The big investment banks are spotting this, where the future is. But in the context of Brexit, I also think Britain could be a world leader. We could export our technology around the world and say we will lead on that transition, we will lead on. We've seen the longest period of underinvestment in the NHS, according to the King's Fund, since 2010, since the Second World War, as a proportion of GDP. And we wonder why we've got people stuck in hospital corridors. And of course that had an impact on social care, and so the cuts in social care, the huge, I'm trying to remember the exact figure, but I mean, it's like about 30–40% local authority cuts impacting on social care, having an impact on the NHS. But also the closure of the Independent Living Fund. That budget was devolved to local authorities. I hope that Green councillors will urge local authorities to ring-fence that money and replace the Independent Living Fund money for disabled people, because it's been raided by local councils and taken out and spent on other things, such as roads. But equally, let's make the richest pay their way. There's no reason why the big corporations who benefit from graduates, who benefit from the infrastructure, benefit from all the subsidies that we're giving to our infrastructure, they should be paying their way. There should be a graduate tax, an education tax that big businesses pay to fund. We don't have to have a whole generation in debt when they come out of university and education. It doesn't have to be that way. The big corporations could pay for that through an education tax. There are solutions to these problems, but it takes the political will. And as far as I can see, the Green Party is the only party saying we need to be honest about this. We can have an NHS that works, we can have social care that works, we can have a decent education system, we can have decent public investment in infrastructure, provided we're prepared to pay for it as a country, and that's the decision we need to make. That off our coast, we could produce, through just renewables, wind, wave, and power and tidal power, over 6 times our annual electricity demand. Just think about that, that's absolutely astonishing. We're visiting a tidal lagoon off the west coast, a potential tidal lagoon off the west coast, which isn't dependent on the sun shining or the wind blowing. You can harness that power and release it when you need to. 6 of those down the west coast could produce enough energy equivalent to Hinkley, and it would last a hell of a lot longer. It wouldn't have the decommissioning costs, and in the long term the costs would be lower. But we've locked ourselves into a deal over Hinkley where the energy is getting now already more expensive than wind power. It just doesn't make sense. We could be more energy secure, we could democratise our energy supply through renewable energy. It is just the common sense thing to do. And the fact that this government isn't recognising either the threat of climate change or making those transitions just shows me that it's not a government that's fit for the 21st century. Our countryside, the green spaces around us, our air, it has implications for our waterways. And that is why Caroline Lucas will be introducing an environmental protection bill. But it also means that we have to fight at the local council level, and these council elections are absolutely crucial in fighting for those freedoms, fighting for those protections that have been won over decades through the European Union. It is great to see what you've been doing here in Worcester around air quality, all the tree planting, the transition to renewable energy, getting those solar panels on the local garage. They're going to power the electric cars down below. We've seen Greens also working around the living wage, to get the living wage introduced. That's the kind of difference that Greens can make. And I think we should be under no illusions that we face the fight of our lives when it comes to the government's ongoing programme of cuts. We are the only party that is fighting both extreme Brexit and this government's austerity and ongoing cuts programme. And nowhere that we can't win as the Green Party. We're fielding a record number of candidates in this election cycle, and we are going to see, I think, a huge momentum over the coming months with people recognising that the Greens are the party that stands up for local people will stand up against cuts, will stand up for the real needs of local people. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm so encouraged by seeing you all here. I'm looking forward to a really wonderful local election campaign. Thank you very much.